Hello and welcome to day one of the Raise Room Embroidery Summer Stitch Along. Today we're going to look at setting up our hoop and our embroidery, and we're going to also look at the back stitch. So first of all, the first thing you want to do is iron your fabric so it's not got any creases left in it. Then you're going to take your template and you're going to put your fabric over the top. As you can see, this combination of template and fabric, you can see the design quite clearly through it. If what you were working with meant that you couldn't see the design through so well, then you could stick your template to a light window. So when there's daylight, pop it up at the window, then stick your fabric over the top and then trace with the light shining through. And that will make it easier for you to see. So at this point, I'm going to use this friction pen, which is the one that you can remove with heat, which I've talked to you guys about before in the what you'll need video and in the video about the kit. So you can get these in the kit for this particular project, and you can get them in stationery shops and stuff as well. So you're just going to use this to trace the pattern through, and it doesn't matter if it's not 100% perfect. You can just kind of, get it exactly how you want it, and then because you can remove these lines later on, as long as you know where you want to be embroidering, then it's fine. So we're just going to trace the design onto the fabric like so. So at this point, I would do, if I was working normally, I'd be working a lot closer to it, so I would be able to see where I was going a little bit better, but while I'm filming it's a bit more tricky. So I'm going to put in the lines that we want for today, and then I'm going to come back and do the rest afterwards. But at this point, if I were you, I would go ahead and trace the whole design as you want it before you put it into your hoop. So there's a few lines for me to be going on with. So once you've done that and you've traced your whole design, so you could pause the video at this point to finish off adding your design. At this stage, we're then going to put our fabric into our hoop. So to undo your hoop, so with this particular design and this particular pattern, we have got a 4-inch hoop with our mandala design. So I'm going to open this one up. So you just loosen it by moving that little bolt just there, that screw, and open it up, separating the two pieces. So the bigger piece goes on the front and the smaller piece goes on the back. And you want to get it so that, I tend to try and make it so that my when I push my hoop on, you could push it on really loose and then tighten the fabric up afterwards. But I tend to get it so that there's a little bit of tension on the hoop already, which then helps to kind of just pull the fabric around the hoop nicely. And you get a nice bit of tension on your fabric at that point without skewing it in all different directions. So at this stage, when it's nice and tight in your hoop, you can tighten this up. So just screw that one back up tight. And I often use the fabric just to flap it around there, so I've got a bit more to grip on. So tighten that up. And then we've got our item in our hoop ready to start work on. So once we've ironed our fabric, traced our pattern, we've got our fabric in our hoop, now we are going to look at threading our needle. So first up, I would take a length of embroidery thread. So I've got, and again, I've talked about this in the what you'll need video and in the kit videos, but I'm using DMC 6-stranded embroidery thread, because then you can take the strands down depending on how, depending on the design really, and we're going to work with different strands in this pattern. At this particular point, we're just going to start off with all 6 strands together. And we are going to take, so you want 50 centimeters worth. So, sorry, I was just putting it next to my ruler, which you can't actually see, it's not in the shot, but this is 50 centimeters ish. Obviously it doesn't need to be exact, but that's just a good length to start off with, so that it's not so short that you're constantly rethreading your needle, but it's not so long that it gets tangled with. Once you get going and you get used to it, you can decide how long you want your thread. But at this point, I would probably start off with about 50 centimeters. And then to use your needle threader that came with your kit, and if anyone is using this style of needle threader where you've got this little bit of wire that fixes into a handle, when you're using it, I would recommend holding down here, because they are a little bit prone to this this wire popping out. But if you hold it about there, it gives it a little bit of support for you. So to use your needle threader, you're going to thread the needle threader through the needle, so through the eye of the needle like so, and then you're going to thread your thread through the big eye that's on the needle threader, like so. And then you're going to hold on to this base bit of your needle threader, and then you should be able to pop that through. It's a little bit more difficult with 6 strands, which is another reason why you want to hold on to it down here, just so it doesn't pop off. So once we've got that on our needle, and just to mention in terms of the size of needle, so if you've got this pack in your kit, or if you've only got one needle to work with the one that you've got. I would recommend working with something, if you've got a pack of needles, that generally I would go for a sizes 3 to 9, crewels or embroidery needles. And then I would generally go for, with what we're doing today, so you can use a different needle depending on how many threads you're using, on how delicate the work is. But here I would generally go around here. So not right in the middle of the biggest ones, but down here, around about here. And so that's that. Now we're going to put a knot in the end of our thread so that it doesn't come through our work. So I tend to just kind of roll it through my fingers like that. But you can put your knot in the end however you like so. And now we're going to look at the back stitch. So just before I show you it on here, on this design, I'm going to show you it a little bit bigger with a brighter thread, so it might be a bit easier for you to see. So you'll start off a stitch length away from where you want to start. So say this is the start of your work, where you want to do your back stitch. Just to show you, back stitch is this one. So it looks like this. And we're going to come through a stitch length away from where you want to start, and your stitch length is entirely up to you. The key with any piece that you're working on would generally just be to keep them consistent on that particular bit that you're doing. So keep the size distance of your stitches consistent at that point. So you can pull that through there and go back on yourself like that. So you're going through from the back and up to the front, and then back on yourself. And then from there, you can come up a stitch length away, just here. And you're going to pull that all the way through. And then you're going to go back down in the same hole that this one came out of, or as close to as you can, like so. And then the same again. So you're going to come through just here. And then we're going back down in just here, and then you're just going to continue like that until you get to the end. So unless the pattern called for the stitch lengths to be all random sizes, I would just try to keep them the same. Generally, I wouldn't worry about it too much if they're not 100% the same. And then, so working on this one, on our actual mandala pattern, I've marked out here, and I'll pop this in the comments, for these outer bigger petals here, we're going to use 6 strands, and also this outer ring here, we're going to use 6 strands, and then for this inner ring here, we're going to use 3, and for this inner ring here, we're going to use 3 strands, and I'll show you splitting the thread in a moment. So from here, I'm working on the petals that are going to be six strands. So I'm going to start a stitch length away from where I want it to be. So just there. I'm going to pull that through. And then I'm going to go back down in just there. And then I'm going to come up a stitch length away. And again, as I mentioned before, you want to try and keep this relatively consistent if you can. Every now and again, just check the back and make sure it's coming all the way through. Sometimes you might get a bit of a loop on the back if it gets caught on something. So we're going back down in there. So we're going to come up, stitch length away. And we're going to come back down in where that one comes out. So you want it in that same hole or as close to as you can get it. If you leave a little bit of a gap, then you might be able to see a little bit of the fabric, a thread or so of the fabric showing in between the gaps. So you're going to do that all the way around. Those petals, so those larger outer petals. When you get to there, gotten to the end of the point of the petal, you're then just going to carry on down this way. So we're going to come up a stitch length away and go back down in just there. So that's how you'll do those ones, and they will go, as you can see on here, all the way around there like so. And where's my purple one? Like this. So it's all of those that go all the way around there. And as I say, I'll post this in the comments. And then your the outer circle here is going to be 6 as well, but the very inner circle and then the one in between, the middle one, they're going to be done with 3 strands. So I'm going to show you that quickly now. So let's show you with a piece of this one. So you'd cut your thread the length that you want it. And then you would, when you come towards the end, it tends to split out as it is. So you want to get it so that you've got 3 strands. So split them like this. So you've got 3 here, 3 here, and then you can just pull that apart. If it starts to get a little bit tangled, then you can just pull it, untwist it, and go again like that. And then you've got this this to work with. So you would thread this onto your needle and knot it as we did before, and then you can go back and use this afterwards once this one runs out. When your thread does run out mid-piece, all you would want to do is turn it over. So if you have a little look at the back of your work, at the back here, oh, I've got a little loop there. There we go. So at the back here, sorry, the focus wasn't great then. So what we're going to do, if we do get to the point where we've got, we run out of thread, so we want to finish off with the piece of thread that we're using because it's getting too short, and then start with a new thread. You are simply going to turn it over and just thread it under. So we just kind of want to secure it, so create a bit of a knot. So I would just go do a few stitches like so, and then go leave a little loop and go through that loop to kind of create a little bit of a knot like so. So that's it. You're going to go ahead and do, so for this part of the stitch along today, you're going to want to do these bits in purple, so using the back stitch. So 6 strands for the outer petals, these bigger petals, 6 strands for the outer circle that's in the middle there, just here, this one here, this one here, and then 3 strands for that one and that one. That's that one and that one, and that's it. So once you've done that, you can pop it down and wait for more instructions tomorrow, and I'll look forward to seeing you back here then.